turning on the jets, splitting the defense, and to the backhand for the goal. Getting your opponent on his back for the pin. Hard to the hoop not once, but twice for the bucket. Sportsnight is next.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sportsnight. I'm Joe Young.
And I'm Howie Shapiro. We have a lot of stuff going on. Again, I mean, last number of weeks, we've had a lot of stuff to bring everybody.
Things are quickly whittling down as we have reached tournament time. We start this week's program talking state tournament and the handful of Cardinal Nordic skiers who went to their respective tournaments up in Bowabic last week. Lachlan Demmer, second straight trip to state, this time in the pursuit. He finishes 18th overall, 30 minutes, 25.8 seconds. His younger sister Ruby and Bethany Law, a fifth place finish in the sprint relay. Their final time was 20 seconds faster than their qualifying time. The only problem is everybody else was cutting that much between qualifying and finals as well. And then Albie Ludwig and Joshua Hyatt teamed up. They did not make it out of their qualifying round, but just to make it pretty impressive, second year also for Lachlan Demmer, or for Albie Ludwig. So congratulations to all the Cardinal State entrants.
Absolutely.
Moving right along, the girls hockey team continued its playoff push last week with a semifinal matchup against Maple Grove. It was a highly anticipated rematch. CPCR beat Maple Grove for the first time ever this season. It was an overtime thriller at the end of November right here on CTN. So the Crimson would be looking for revenge, and both squads would be fighting hard to keep their seasons alive. Definitely not the start they were looking for. A turnover in the slot. Harper Winnicky slides a backhander on goal. It squeaks under Wastrel and just sneaks across the line. Maple Grove on the board less than a minute into the game. CPCR power play late in the first. Semling with speed down the wing. Her shot is high and wide. Lily McKenzie keeps it in and just flips it toward the net. Kylie Aswegan able to poke it home out front, and it's an even game, 1-1 after one. Crimson with a great chance early in the second period. Abby Oakland gets around the defender and leads a 2-on-0. She takes a shot herself, but Wastrel shuts her down. Huge stop and really huge chances both ways throughout the game. CPCR trying to stretch June Semling through the middle late in the second. She's hauled down by a couple of Crimson players. So CPCR back on the power play. 1 for 2 to this point. Semling circling, finds a lane, puts it on net. A couple of teammates on the doorstep, but Crimson able to clear the puck. Still tied into the third. Crimson on the rush early. Maisie Tomlinson alone in the lane. Wastrel comes up with another huge save. Unfortunately, Crimson convert on the ensuing faceoff. Winnicky wins the draw. Callie Anderson steps up and sends it to the top shelf. Turned out to be the game winner. CPCR had chances but could not convert. Then with the empty net behind them, a turnover at center ice. Abby Oakland scores. Crimson had 2 into the empty cage. So it was a much closer game than the final 4-1 would make it seem. A tough end, but a very impressive season once again for Coach Gutterman and the CPCR squad. They finish 17-9-1.
Would have been a fun one to be a part of for sure. And, you know, they knew going in it's going to be tough. I mean, they played them solid, and they gave up that goal in the third period. Unfortunately, they couldn't get that tie. And couple of empty net goals that doesn't really indicate what the game was actually played like.
Yeah, it was pretty much a 2-1 game, and you know, hats off to this team. Number of great things happened. June Semling over 50 points, first time that's ever happened for a CPCR player. I believe that Lily McKenzie made it over 150 for her career, and Sydney is over 100 for her career.
All impressive.
They were that line has been impressive. It'll be interesting to see what happens with the two that come back as Lily moves on. But we'll get into that more when we get to the review show. Here's what happened. Just one extra game for Maple Grove. They got blanked by top-seeded Centennial Spring Lake Park. Centennial rolling through that section tournament. 10-1 over Mounds View Irondale, 6-1 over North Wright County, and then 3 blank against Maple Grove. They go into the state tournament representing Section 5AA, and they are hot.
They are hot. 19 goals in 3 games. That's pretty impressive. And we talked last week about no matter who was the winner of the Maple Grove game in Coon Rapids Spring Lake Park game, Champlain Park. I mean, it was an opportunity that Centennial was going to win that.
Centennial is a very, very solid team.
Yep.
So congratulations to the girls on a solid season. Boys hockey team wrapping up the regular season last week. First, they had a trip to Eastridge on Tuesday, and they lost a tight one, 7-6. They were actually down 6-2 in this one. They had 4 goals in the third period, almost came all the way back, but Eastridge able to hold on for a 7-6 win. But you see it, all of the captains with multi-point efforts. Caden Lichter also a multi-point night with a couple of assists.
Tough loss for sure. Well, the boys hockey team wrapped up the regular season on Saturday, hosting a top 10 single A team. Minneapolis came in sitting atop their section standings, but just barely. So this game still had a lot of meaning for them. And it was an emotional one for the home team. It was the last time at Crick for the SLPCR guys, and that really meant a lot. It was senior day as the team celebrated its 10 guys playing their final regular season game. This is how Captain Caden Elfin wanted to celebrate. Speedy end-to-end rush. He slides the backhander home. That tied the game at 1:10 minutes in. SLPCR power play in the final minute of the first. Elfin sends it through the seam, finds Jackson Engberg at the back door. Nets his leading 19th of the season. Home team up 2-1 after one. They controlled the action in the second, but the only score comes late in the period. Engberg flying down the wing, sends it back to the slot, and Andrew Clark one-times at home. 4 of the 5 SLPCR goals scored by Coon Rapids players. Minneapolis fights back in the third. Johan Crossing snaps one past Lewis to the far side. His second of the game got them within 1. He scored again to seemingly tie the game. It was waved off for goalie interference. Less than a minute after that, SLPCR gets another separator goal. Good pressure on the forecheck. Katie Sukup finds Brody Herzog, crashing down the slot. It's lucky number 13. It turns out to be the game winner. Minneapolis does get back within 1, however, cashing in on the power play. Matt Walsh with room to walk in. Larry Cronic has the tip out front. The visitors are back within 1. They pull the goalie looking for the equalizer and then turn it over in their own zone. Wackman back to Elfin. Gets his second of the game. SLPCR secures the 5-3 win, and a big win for them to close out the year.
It was, and it was a fun game. The fact that I had, little alma mater love for the visiting bench. The Minneapolis squad made up mostly of Southwest and Washburn kids. Couple of Addison guys. Yeah. Joe Dietzick behind the bench is a guy I played against. Couple of players on the ice for Minneapolis are the children of people who I went to school with.
Did you go talk to Dietzick at all?
I did. I talked to Joey before the game a bit. And they're a fun hockey team. Really, they came out, had a ton of speed in the first period, really set the tempo. But credit to SLPCR. Absolutely. They turned things around, tightened up defensively, and kept the game at the other end most of the rest of the way. Tough draw, though, for the squad in the playoffs. They were hoping they could maybe get the 6th seed and then go against the Champlain Park team that they actually beat earlier this season. Instead, they're the number 2 seed, and they will travel to take on the number 7 seed. They will travel to take on number 2 seed Maple Grove. Rogers, no surprise, the number 1 seed. They'll face the winner of Osseo versus Iredale. Totino Grace, the 4, will host Blaine. And again, Champlain Park will host Centennial. Well, the wrestling team made some solid progress this season, but they were still just an 8th seed in the Section 7-3A tournament. That meant starting with a matchup against 9th-seeded Champlain to see who would get to the quarterfinal round. The Cardinals beat up on a shorthanded Rebels lineup in January, but now the season was on the line, and Champlain had a nearly full roster. Alex Zhang started the meet with a 15-0 tech fall at 107. Adrian Chang does him one better at 114. Strong headlock to take his man straight to his back. Chang gets the pin just 19 seconds into the third period. Champlain won 4 of the next 5, so Cardinals lead down to 1 midway through. Benny Kelton helps build it back up. Strong performance at 152. He just out-muscles his opponent, squeezes the headlock, forces him to the mat. Pin comes midway through the second period. Vashi Ebred Leedsy keeps the momentum going at 160 pounds. A lightning-fast headlock at the start of the second period. Takes his man straight to his back, gets the pin in 2:16. Cards up 29-16 with 4 matches to go. The Rebels, though, won the next 3 and took a 1-point lead going to heavyweight, so it all came down to the big boys. Brandon Finley is no match for Hayden Skillings. He gets the pin in just 1 minute, 6 seconds to secure the 35-30 Coon Rapids win.
Well, the win put the Cardinals up against top-seeded Anoka. The Tornadoes came in ranked 7th in the state. They beat the Cardinals in the season opener, but it was a tight match until late, and the Cards were hoping to tip the scales this time. Anoka started with a pin at 107. Adrian Chang able to kick himself out of some trouble middle of the first period at 114. Turns it into a headlock. That leads to a pin in a time of 128. Score tied at 6. Teams traded pins back and forth through the first 6 classes. No surprise to see Jack Reidenstein controlling the action at 133. He puts Ali Al-Hamad to the mat in just over 90 seconds. Nice win there. Well, the Cards still trail by 6 at that point. Not to worry, Gilbert Kostek on the mat at 139. He's able to keep his balance on the edge of the mat, turn this into his advantage, taking Gunnar Cameron straight to his back. Kostek's pin midway through the second, tied at 18, 3 pins each way through 6. There are only 3 matches that went the distance. This is one of them. Great headlock from Tristan Hargrave at 125. He battled his way to a 10-4 decision to give the Cardinals a brief lead. Unfortunately, the Cardinals didn't win again until heavyweight. Hayden Skillings not wasting any time. He has another first period pin. He's primed for this week's individual tournament, but the Cards team season ends with a 42-27 loss. Another nice pin from Skillings.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see those two, especially Bridenstine and Skillings.
Yep.
Bridenstine's been there a couple of times, trying to make it for his 3rd straight season. Skillings been a little bit snake bit. He had an injury one year. Last year, a match in that section individual tournament that didn't go the way he wanted it to, felt he could have gotten the better of, didn't. He's been driven all year, so those two for sure. The question is who else? I mean, Hargrave, maybe an outside chance at 145. You got Kostek, who has done some good things at 39. Vashi Abradlizi, not only because he's had a strong season, but he also has a killer name. So we wish them all the best. But you know what? The Anoka Tornadoes, the number 1 seed, they did not make it out of the section. So 3 teams are ranked for Section 7. Anoka is number 7. Both Elk River and Cambridge Isani are in the lean and mean. So technically, I guess they're not technically ranked. But Cambridge Isani was actually ahead of Elk River in the lean and mean. Not when it came time to see who was going to state, because the Elks beat the Tornadoes in the semifinals and then went on to beat Cambridge in a thriller 34-31, and they are going to state. These individual section tournament is Friday, Saturday this week, and the state tournament will be next week at the XL Energy Center. Gymnastics team had its section tournament last week, but last week on the show we did not have complete results for their final regular season match against Anoka. We now have those. They have been dealing with some injuries and some illnesses through the latter part of the season. They still compete hard. Excuse me. They still compete hard, and Coach Habel lauds their efforts all the way through JV. The greatest thing I think about the story about this team this season is that they had the numbers, and that is the first step towards becoming a little bit more relevant. They did not get to the 120 they had hoped for, only a 108 against Anoka, and then in last week's section tournament did a little bit better with a 109. They still finished in 7th place in Section 7 AA. Callie Barker, pretty much their top finisher in every event, finishing there. You see it in the high 20s. Was the best finishes for the team, except for Callie's 22nd place finish in the all-around. Just a very deep section. Right? The winning team scored a little bit better than 140. And the top 4 teams, I think, were within about 6 or 7 points of each other.
Yeah, I mean,
so there's some really quality clubs in that section.
The tough thing for them is to, at this time of the season, to be dealing with those injuries and illnesses, and they wanted to get to that elusive 120, but I think that really kind of stood in their way.
Well, and hopefully, they will do as you always ask the athletes to do, right? Is work on your game throughout the off season. That is the best time to improve.
Exactly.
And we'll see if they're able to do that. But we'll also have obviously their wrap up.
Yes.
Review. That's the word. I'm like, review.
Well,
we got the review show coming up.
You didn't remember because I know how much you love doing the reviews.
I'm a big fan.
You are a big fan.
Big fan. That's why I blocked it out of my memory. It left my vocabulary. I love it so much. Swimming and diving team still has another week before they have their section tournament at the end of next week from Thursday through Saturday. Basketball. Boys basketball team started last week's play with a border battle against the Blaine Bengals. The Cardinals opened the season at Blaine, losing by more than 20 points. They hope they could be a bit more competitive with the experience they've gained since then and with the home crowd behind them. Unfortunately, it's the Bengals setting the tempo early in this one. They've got several guys that can score, and on this night, it was Shiloh Ayeti leading the way. This drive put Blaine up 21-8. Clearly, the Cards have a couple of guys that can get the job done too. Jackson Young, another stellar performance, stops and pops, sparking a comeback. The other half of the dangerous duo was getting hot as well. Taking Plum and Tate hitting a long 3. He had 14 of his 21 points in the first half. Next trip down the floor, Cody DeGogo drives and then dishes. Young from the left side. Cards back within 4. But the Bengals finish the half with another strong push. Ayate finding his way through the defense on this one. Bengals go to the locker room up 45-36. Cardinals not able to really challenge the lead in the second. Jackson Young had a game-high 34, his 8th game this season with 30 or more points. But it wasn't enough. Bengals able to really stretch the lead. Ayate also had 34. That's Nano Gempta. He hit for 3 of his 24. So those two kind of cancel out, Jackson and TPT. And the rest of the squads, well, Blaine outscored the Cards 31-10, and that finishes the season sweep for him with an 89-69 win.
Yeah, I think it was a frustrating loss for Coach O and his squad. You're down by 9 at the break, and you have an opportunity to say, okay, if we play well, we play solid defense, we have an opportunity to beat this team on our home floor. Unfortunately, they couldn't get it done.
Yeah, and they're a tough group to stop. I mean, give Blaine really a lot of credit. They've got 3 or 4 different guys that could go off at any time. They actually held one of their leading scorers without a point through the first half. Through the first almost 40 minutes of the game, he finished with 6. But Ayate, they could not stop him.
Yeah, no, he was.
Everything he did worked. He got every roll, hit every shot. So sometimes it's against you in that way. The bigger thing, in my opinion, was they were not able to really get much scoring from outside of their big 2.
No, and I think, Coach
only 10 points.
Coach talked about how athletic they were, and they really showed that in the second half. The Bengals did a really nice job of just getting the ball quicker and just making their offenses flow a little bit better than Coon Rapids could.
Well, the Cardinals did get a long-awaited win on Saturday when they traveled to Duluth East. That's a section rival, 67-60 the final. That's only the 4th time this season that Jackson Young has failed to score 20 points.
Crazy.
Held the 19, but he'll take it for the win for sure. Kieran Wymore and Tegan Plum-Tate each adding 16. Cotter Young had 6, and Jeremy Oddie added 5. Grabbed a couple of boards as well. They are at Centennial on Tuesday. They will host Champlin on Friday. They've just got 4 games left.
Yeah, I love the fact that they got a chance to see Weimer in that game, 16 points, 5 steals, because he hustles. He really does.
Yeah.
Well, the girls' basketball team had only 1 game last week, a trip to Blaine on Thursday to face the Bengals. Blaine was a little better than 500 and still within range of a second-place finish in the conference. They dominated the first meeting between the two and weren't about to let the Cardinals slow their roll at crunch time. Blaine taking control of the scoreboard from the very start. In transition, Mara Hall will back into the corner, hit the 3, and put the Bengals up 15-6 early. Cardinals have definitely improved this season, and they wouldn't roll over for a Blaine team off the three-point miss. A good rebound and put back from Mackenzie Carpenter. Coon Rapids had 8 different girls score points. But the Bengals in clear control throughout the first. Good movement and a wide-open look for Alexis Earhart. Her 3 helped push the lead to over 20. Cardinals able to create open looks at the other end as well. Rochelle Cooper had a solid game. Long 2 right here. She had 12 points and 8 boards. While they never threatened the lead, the Cardinals never stopped fighting. Good team defense and a steal and a breakaway for Aaliyah Graham. She also had a dozen for the Cardinals. Bengals up 30 and still bringing the full court press that leads to the steal and the basket and close for Caitlin Wozniak. Bengals run away with an 85-46 win.
Yeah, it's a tough team, and it's been a task. And you talk about 8 different players scoring. That is a big step for this team. And again, no matter how much we say, you always have to go back to won't lose a single minute of varsity play.
Which is great. I mean, and this just the experience that they've gained this year. I mean, just 6 wins on the season, however, but the fact that they've gained a lot of that experience, you've got girls scoring multiple points in different nights, and that's important.
Well, and they've got a couple of they've got 3 games this week. A couple of them possible for them to get win number 7. They host Centennial on Tuesday, and Howie,
we'll be there.
They're at Legacy Christian, another 3A team on Thursday, and then they're at Champlin Park on Friday to end their regular season. So still a couple of teams finishing out the regular season, trying to finish strong. A couple more hoping for strong playoff performances this week. Here's what we have for you. Girls basketball on Tuesday against Centennial. SLPCR in the section quarterfinals at Maple Grove on Thursday. That'll premiere at midnight. We can't show the playoffs live. And then we'll have boys basketball against Bloomington Kennedy next Monday. But that is going to do it for this edition of Sportsnight. I want to thank everybody out there for joining us and continuing to support everything we do here at CTN. For the entire crew, including Howie Shapiro, I'm Joe Young.